Some houses hold memories. Others hold what's left of the people who made them. But this house swallowed time itself, and for 52 years it digested them, one photograph at a time. There's a reason most people don't remember the Langley family, because forgetting was part of the deal. In 1971, Edward Langley and his wife Clara lived in a modest ranch home outside Phoenix, Arizona. A quiet road, a quiet job. 2 children, routine, predictable, clean. But they didn't vanish into the desert like some storm came and wiped them out. They vanished while dinner was still hot on the table. 4 plates, roast chicken, canned green beans, buttered rolls, glasses half full. One of them tipped over, blue plastic, spilled across a placemat still marked in a child's crayon scribbles. No signs of struggle, no broken locks, no open windows, just absence, like someone had pressed pause on the entire scene. The dog was the only one left, scratching at the front door, whining, looking toward the hallway like it still heard footsteps that weren't there. When Clara's sister arrived the next morning, she expected chaos. Instead, she found stillness, a kind of vacuum. The car was in the driveway, beds still unmade, toothbrushes still damp. Clara's purse beside the fridge, Edward's watch, always worn, sitting quietly by the bed. But it wasn't what was left that mattered. It was what wasn't. There were no footprints leaving the house, no suitcases gone, no bank withdrawals, just erasure. As if the entire family had been surgically removed from the narrative. Except for the camera. A 1970s Polaroid land camera found half hidden under the curtain, strap coiled, lens fogged, flashbulb spent, like it had just been used, like someone had captured the moment and disappeared before the picture could even print. Authorities flooded the place. Helicopters, dogs, reporters, psychics. For months, theories spread like fire. Cult abduction, spontaneous combustion, government black bag operation. Nothing stuck. Nothing explained it, and like all things America gets tired of not understanding, it was forgotten. The Langley house was sold, remodeled, painted over, wallpaper stripped, but none of it held warmth. Renters never stayed long, and no one asked why, until 2023. When a woman bought that exact camera at a forgotten estate sale, still loaded, still sealed, still waiting. Not to take a picture, but to be seen. The gas station attendant said there was no road beyond mile marker 0. But the GPS disagreed, and by the time they realized who was right, the trees were already closing in behind them. They were 3 friends, 20-somethings, the kind of guys who still believed the road was freedom, who thought you could outrun your demons if the tank was full and the playlist was loud enough. But the road doesn't care about your speed, it only cares about what you bring with you. And what you leave behind. They were headed north through West Virginia. Just a back road shortcut, they said. Cut 2 hours off the drive. GPS gave them a strange detour, a narrow turnoff with no name, just a marker nailed to a rotted post. 0. They passed it anyway. And the road that followed? It didn't show up on any map. It wasn't gravel or dirt. It was black, oily, fresh like it had just been poured, yet it smelled like rot. The trees grew tighter. The air got thick. Even the signal died. Phone, radio, Bluetooth. Like the world stopped broadcasting once they crossed that line. And then, the signs started. No words, just symbols. Shapes carved into wood, into stone, scratched into trees. Circles, spirals. Something like an open eye, closed. They tried to turn around. The road didn't let them. Every U-turn took them back to the same clearing. The car clock began blinking random times. 11:66, 25:19, backwards. The odometer ticked down, not up. And every so often, in the rearview mirror, they'd catch a shape walking behind them. Always the same distance away, never closer, never farther, until it wasn't there at all, and one of them whispered, "Wait, now it's in front of us." When they found the cabin, they thought it was salvation. It wasn't abandoned. The fire was still warm, but no one was inside. Just 3 plates, set at the table, just like the Langley house. And above the fireplace, burned into the wood, was a single word, or a name, or a warning. Remain. That's when the knocking started. From inside the walls. Only one of them made it out. He never drives at night. He never takes shortcuts. And he covers every mirror in his house. He says they reflect more than light now. They reflect the place that never should have let him go. The lights were on. The door was open. The clerk behind the counter blinked like he hadn't slept in years. But when they checked the receipt, the date wasn't today. It was 1987. It was supposed to be a straight shot through Oklahoma. Nothing but long stretches of flat highway and the occasional exit sign. But somewhere between Tulsa and nowhere, the gas gauge began to fall, faster than it should have. They passed a sign that wasn't there on the map. Old Exit 34, service station. And in the distance, like it had been waiting for them, the lights appeared. Not fluorescent, not LED. These were orange bulbs, humming with that warm, flickering tone you only see in movies set in the 80s. They pulled in. The station looked ancient, but it was running. A rusted Pepsi machine, a cracked payphone, and behind the glass, a man with sunken eyes and a name tag that simply read, "Red." They filled the tank, walked inside. The air smelled like mildew and engine oil. A slow country song played from a radio you couldn't see, and the clerk just stared. Never said a word, just rang them up. The younger guy laughed nervously and said, "Hey, man, this place is like stepping back in time." Red blinked and whispered, "You're not the first ones to say that." They looked at the receipt. The time was wrong. The date said July 16th, 1987. They looked outside. The road behind them was gone. No exit, no highway. Just miles of dried grass and a horizon that bent slightly. Wrong. Like a lens warped by heat. They asked Red how to get back. He said, "You can't. You have to be remembered." Then he turned, and for a moment they saw something under the counter. A Polaroid camera, covered in dust, with a photo sticking out halfway. A woman, a man, 2 kids, frozen smiles, faded sun behind them. In the corner of the picture, scratched in pen, "Langley family, last seen." The younger guy bolted. The others followed. The car started. The road unfolded like it had never vanished. The gas station shrank behind them. But when they checked the rearview mirror, Red was still staring, and the sign said, "Now serving 3." He swore he was alone on the bus, until the driver said, "Tell your friend to stay seated while we're moving." Some roads run straight through the world, you know. Others bend around it, so subtly, so precisely, that you don't even notice when you're not in this version of reality anymore. That's what happened to Mark. Mark was a logistics manager. Nothing strange about him. He didn't believe in ghosts. He believed in arrival times, spreadsheets, and invoices. That's what made his story so much worse. He was taking a night bus from Colorado Springs to Santa Fe, the kind of journey where the seats creak, the windows rattle, and everyone's too tired to speak. He sat in seat 5A, alone, or so he thought. It was around 2:17 a.m. when he noticed the condensation on the window, but only his side. It wasn't raining. The bus heater was barely on, yet it looked like someone, or something, had been breathing heavy just over his shoulder. He turned. No one there. But the seat behind him, seat 6A, was warm. He didn't think much of it. Until the driver's voice came through the speaker. "Passenger in seat 5A. Please ask your friend to stay seated. Can't have people walking the aisle while we're moving." Mark froze. He stood, looked around. There were only 7 people on the bus. He counted. Only 6 were visible. He walked up to the driver. "What friend?" The driver's face didn't change. He just said, "Whoever you brought on board." And then whispered, "They always come on alone. But they never leave that way." Mark sat back down. Now seat 6A was empty again, but soaked with condensation. When he got off in Santa Fe, he turned back to thank the driver. But the bus was already gone. It didn't drop anyone else off. It didn't stop. It didn't appear on any departure board. The station had no record of that line ever existing. Mark's hair began turning gray that week. He hasn't ridden public transit since. But what keeps him up at night isn't the memory. It's that every now and then he finds condensation on his home windows, on the inside, just behind him, just over his shoulder. When the construction crew broke through the asphalt, they found teeth. Not fossils, not bones, human teeth, still wet, still arranged in a perfect circle. Every year, cities repave their highways. They widen lanes, lay fresh asphalt, install brighter lights. It's all an illusion, a way to keep you distracted from what's buried underneath. In 2009, a crew in New Mexico was widening a section of road near Exit 42, a dead, forgotten junction that hadn't been used in decades. The project was routine. Nothing about it stood out, until they hit a layer of concrete not listed in any geological survey. Under that, dirt. Under the dirt, a pit. 5 feet deep, 10 across, lined with teeth. Over 400 of them. Human. Adult. Filed. Some gold. Some cracked. But none with roots. As if they had been pulled from the living and placed there deliberately. No skulls, no tools, no artifacts. Just the teeth. And a strange black stone in the center. Smooth, circular, polished. That same night, the crew's equipment began failing. Radios went static. Phones glitched. One of the men, a foreman named Diego, was found at 3 a.m., crouched in the pit, naked, crying, his fingernails gone. He'd tried to dig deeper. When they asked him why, all he could say was, "I heard her voice. She's under the teeth. She's hungry." The project was shut down. The site? Quietly filled in, paved over, marked as unstable terrain in the state database. But truckers still pass it, still talk about it. They say when you drive past Exit 42 between 2 o'clock and 3 o'clock a.m., you hear something under your wheels. Not gravel, Not tires on pavement, but chewing. Some have stopped to check. Their headlights flicker, and they always describe the same thing: the reflection of someone standing behind them in the chrome of the trailer. A woman, mouth wide open, but no eyes, just sockets, empty, dripping, like she's still waiting for the ones who fed her the first time. And the worst part? That stretch of highway, it gets repaved every year, even when nothing's broken, even when the budget's been cut. Someone's still feeding her, and they have a name for her now: the Taker of Teeth. It wasn't labeled, just a cassette, black and warped with age. But when they played it, the recording didn't end. Even after they turned the player off. Even after they burned it. In 1994, a college student named Julian bought an old car from a police auction in Utah. It was a beat-up 1981 Mercury Cougar. Smelled like mothballs and dust. But it ran, and it was cheap. In the glove box, tucked behind a rusted flashlight and a set of expired registration papers, he found it. A single audio cassette. No label, no markings. Just the word "listen" scratched into the plastic. He didn't think much of it. Probably just a mixtape or weird joke. But when he played it in the car's cassette deck, what came out wasn't music. It was the sound of a room, breathing, shuffling, low whispering, like people moving through a chapel or morgue. Then came the voices, one at a time, soft, flat, emotionless. "I saw you at the gas station. You left your keys on the hood. You forgot to check the back seat." Julian froze. These weren't generic phrases. They were specific moments from his life. Things no one should have known. And then... "You're hearing this because you're next." He hit stop. The tape kept playing. He ejected it. The player screamed, like metal scraping bone. He threw it out the window. But the next morning, it was on his passenger seat. Not the same tape. A new one. Same cassette. Different phrases. Now it was describing things he hadn't done yet. Events that hadn't happened. Not until later that day. That's when the descent began. Every day, a new tape. Always waiting for him. In his mailbox. On his dashboard. Once inside his fridge. He tried burning one. It screamed. He mailed one to a priest. The priest never responded, and was found wandering a parking lot at midnight, whispering he's behind the glass. Julian finally tried recording over the next one. It worked. For 8 seconds. Then the tape recorded him. His own voice. Played back in reverse. Telling him the exact words you're hearing right now. This story? It's not about Julian. It's about you. Because you're listening. And that's how it starts. The GPS said they were on the road. The compass spun. The sky dimmed. And ahead, a tunnel that didn't exist yesterday. No entrance. No exit. Just a mouth. Open. Waiting. It was just a road trip. Just two brothers trying to get away for a weekend. They drove through Oregon, eastbound. Forest thick like a curtain. Air heavy with fog. Then the GPS glitched. Said, recalculating, over and over. Then it froze. Coordinates, 00, 0,000, 00, 0,000. They laughed. Thought it was a bug. Until they saw it. A tunnel. Hollow. Carved through a rock face that looked wet. Like it was bleeding oil. No lights. No signs. No graffiti. Just stone. That seemed to breathe. One brother wanted to turn back. The other said, "We've come too far." They entered. The radio died first, then the clocks. The headlights dimmed. Then came the sound, not from the car, not from outside, but underneath them. Scraping, metal on metal. Then, breathing. Inside that tunnel, time stretched. The dash started counting in reverse. They checked their watches. 2:46 p.m. Then 2:45, then 2:44. They drove for what felt like 40 minutes. When they came out the other side, the sky was red. The trees were dead. The road behind them, gone. They looked at the map. There was nothing. Not even the tunnel. No roads. No lines. Just black. They found a gas station a mile ahead. The sign said it closed in 1989, but the lights were on. The clerk? The same man from the other story. Same eyes. Same name tag. Red. He said, "You've crossed it, haven't you?" They asked, "Crossed what?" And he smiled for the first time. "Most people stay asleep, but you kept watching." He handed them a Polaroid. The Langley family. Smiling. Frozen. And behind them, two blurred faces. Men. One with a blue hoodie. The other, the one watching this now. You. Yes. You. Still think it's just a story? You crossed the line the second you stayed, the second you listened. Now, the map doesn't know where you are, because you're no longer here. You're part of it now. Say it again in the comments. I see what follows. Say it twice, because once the map goes black, you don't get to leave, only move deeper. And what waits ahead wants your name.